I tell you the reason we went down there. Patrick had been to Portmeirion, I believe on a Danger Man show, and it was used as a location. And so he was familiar with this location. But Leslie Gilliat, who took over as the sort of creative producer for Loot Grade, was very nervous about this series because he didn't understand it. And he couldn't understand how we could make a whole series in this one little village. So I remember him saying to me, Bernie, we're going to go down and check this place out to see if this can work. So we went down to Portmeirion a weekend with his 16mm camera. And it really wasn't at the instructions of Patrick. It was more about Leslie's nervousness about whether this place could work, which I understand because it's a public vacation spot. And could we take over it? Because the owner, William Clough Ellis, was an eccentric Englishman. And what is Hollywood to him? I mean, he grew plants and made pottery and built this unique and strange village that people paid a huge amount of money to go and stay. And he didn't want us messing it up, you know, with 80 film crew. So I think it's more of an exploratory trip as a producer and production manager to see if we could actually pull it off. We were there for the first month for 4 episodes. And then we would go back for weekends with Patrick on a Saturday and Sunday, or I would go down there with Pat's double, Frank Mayer, who did all his stunt work. And we would shoot bits and pieces for each show. So we probably went back there 2 or 3 times over the course of the first 13 episodes. In the later shows, when we ran out of material for Portmeirion, then we would send a second unit down, shoot with a double for 3 or 4 days of Patrick, and then get Patrick down there on a weekend and just get all his close-ups. And so we were able to maintain exteriors of Portmeirion throughout the whole series that way. I mean, that was an expensive deal for Loot Grade's company because they made all their series out the back doors of Elstree, Borehamwood or Pinewood or Shepperton Studios. Nobody ever travelled more than, 2 miles, 4 miles from the studio because it became expensive and dangerous. For Patrick to go 300 miles into the Welsh mountains was expensive. You have to pay all their train fares, you have to ship all the equipment, you have to give them living expenses. Everybody gets paid Saturdays and Sundays, whether they work or not. So it's the most expensive way to make any kind of television series or film, in fact. But you can see all the people walking around, they're on vacation. I made a horrible mistake there one day because we had aerial shots to do with the helicopters and the tea room was active and there was all these tourists in the tea room. And I said to the helicopter pilot, just go over to number 2's building and shoot down towards that square. And he flew over that tea room. And the down thrust from those chopper blades hit the chimneys. And all the people inside were covered in black soot. They keep running out covered in black. Lots of apologies, lots of dry cleaner bills. And I think Mr. Clough Ellis at that point was a little nervous of what we were doing. But we got over it. So there were a lot of production problems working in this location. When you're stuck on a mountain in the middle of Wales, I mean, if we wanted timber, lumber, we'd probably drive 30 miles to get it. If we wanted paint, we'd drive 20 miles to get it. And we had to bring actors in from London. There were no local actors, so every actor had to come down on a train, which took 9 hours. And William Clough Ellis was always around the grounds, watering, pottering. So we were always under his eye. So I had to get everybody to be on their best behaviour at all times, especially with film crews who love to throw paper cups down and smoke cigarettes and leave the butts on the ground. And I think we're the pretty untidy group. We sort of take over a location, it belongs to us. Because we treat all locations as if they were our film sets. We forget that they're locations inhabited by other people. We tend to take over. It's very hard to make a series for a month and say, hey, can you get out of the way, please? Can you move your car, please? We had to move all these cars. There was nowhere to put them because the streets are narrow. And we had to have all these people running down or marching down or penny farthings riding around or mini mokes. The road was probably only half a mile long, but we made it look like a much bigger village. And the camera sees for miles, so for miles you have to clear everything. It was exhausting. But even the Blue Dome, it's original, it's there. If you see the series, you go, yeah, they made it into number two's place. No, we didn't. It was just the way we used what locations were there in front of us, and it worked. There's the village cemetery, which is probably a few miles out of town, near this mountain range. But I don't think we used this location at all. No, we didn't. It's also very. It's tough to work in graveyards too, because you've got to get clearances from all the families to use the names that are on the gravestones. And some people get offended, especially having Rover going through it. So we probably decided not to use it for a lot of reasons like that. Also, now looking at this, I don't like this location because it shows that he's not isolated. It looks like there's civilization out there and mountains, and it's not a good image. It brings back lots of memories. Pleasant. Life has been good. I remember now, I took a land Polaroid camera to take Polaroids. It was quite fashionable in those days, that camera. But that's me running. That's how I suppose I'm pretending to be number 6, running up to number 2. Pat was always supposed to be running away from the village, so I guess that's why I'm running. This was great fun for the local people. The extras were recruited from this wonderful town of Penrhyn Dydreth, which is the name of the Welsh town that this village is in. And they weren't used to Hollywood. I mean, they thought it was all fun to be strolling around with capes and big balloons floating about. I think they think we were crazy anyway, but now look at this thing. Rover turned up one day on this as a go-kart with this horrible body on it. It looked like a cake on wheels. That's the go-kart. Look, that's me trying to be a contortionist. Look, it looks like it's got. It looks like something should be in my bedroom. If that had been in the first show, I think it would have been a big cancellation. But just looking at this tape, it's a beautiful place. I want to go back there for a vacation and have sleepless nights remembering The Prisoner.